Hi, hello guys, my name is Mia Marie, and you are currently watching my Synastry Compatibility series where I go through all the 12 signs, sun signs, and how they get along. Now, as a general disclaimer, we reference so much more than just the sun sign for compatibility, but the importance of the sun and understanding someone's sun sign and accepting it and supporting it is that the sun sign describes the motives, the behaviors, the experiences that contribute to someone's sense of sanity. So we're not talking so much about what someone needs emotionally or how they flirt or what makes them great in bed, all of those very, romantic topics. We're talking about how to support someone's vitality, someone's sense of self, and someone's healing human journey. So keep in mind that this is just a gentle introduction, and you can get so much more by booking a session with me or another fantastic astrologer. Someone who is born with the sun in Virgo is here to purify. Now, it doesn't always come off that way, and if you don't have a trained eye or ear, you can feel judged and criticized when a Virgo is around, because what they do, it's like their love language. They listen to you, they watch what you're doing, and they point out what's not working, what you're doing wrong, and what you can do better. And the reason why they want to do this in every area of their life, not only towards their partner, is because when you fix all of the things that are wrong, then you are often left purified, clean, clear. You're able to think clearly. You're able to connect with soul. There's often a spiritual component to a Virgo. They're the opposite of Pisces, and they are big on acts of service. That's often their love language. They have a huge focus on health, routines, systems. They are quick thinkers. It can be really hard to calm their body down at the end of the night. That's how it manifests. It's ruled by Mercury. And so they have an amazing capacity to analyze information and to synthesize information, but it can sometimes manifest in the nervous system as being like jittery or on edge. They can kind of sleep with one eye open. Virgo is the second earth sign, and so it takes Taurus's competence, skill set, and confidence, self-confidence, and it goes, okay, how can we apply this to serve more people? How can we market this? How can we sell this? What systems do we need to have in place? What processes does this require? They like to cut labor in half, but they're also very laborious at the same time. They enjoy working and they like being of service, but they just want to cut the steps in half. They like hacking things, taking shortcuts. They will study information. As I said, they're ruled by Mercury, and so they'll study patterns until they have them mastered and figured out, and then they'll find a way to advance the system. Pure, undisturbed Virgo is so neat and tidy. Now, I know very many Virgos who are it's chaos. In their mind, it's chaos, but it's because of the other placements. Pure Virgo will color coordinate things. Everything will have a label. Everything has a place. Everything has a home, because that way things run efficiently. If there's stuff on the floor, they can't move as quickly as they want. Now, another side to Virgo is when they're overstimulated. What they will do is they'll turn to Pisces qualities. They will turn to escapist tendencies, and this can manifest in multiple different ways. The most obvious one that I've seen is Virgos can often drink quite heavily when they are overwhelmed. So if you see a Virgo really throwing them back, it's because they are taking on so much, they're doing so much, and they're probably not giving themselves the pat on the back that they deserve. In fact, that is the one thing that they do not do is they accomplish things, and as soon as it's accomplished, they're like, yeah, I was supposed to do that. It wasn't that big of a deal. And so there is never that moment of wow, like they don't have a sense of accomplishment after they do something. They feel like they just have to keep going, and they have a to-do list, and they keep adding to it, and they just keep going nonstop. And so it's really helpful for them, and I'll go into this when I talk about specific signs. It's really helpful for them to have a partner who makes them pause and appreciate themselves. The risk that Virgo runs, where they can kind of get confused, is that they want to be of service, but they oftentimes put themselves in the position of being a servant to a job, to a partner, and it takes multiple experiences of them just running on E before they recognize that there is a way to be available to people and to be helpful and to make an impact, but not at the expense of their mental health and their physical well-being. They will do anything for the person that they love. But should they? Like that's the balance. Should they? When I think of Virgo, I think of that movie Holes, and that character who's like, I can fix that. They always show up, I can fix that, I can do that. Ugh, gorgeous. So let's talk about some deal breakers as it relates to a Virgo. Virgo is an earth sign. Though it is changeable, mutable, flexible, understanding, empathetic, tolerant, it will not tolerate someone who is duplicitous and untrustworthy. They don't like someone who is unreliable. They won't tolerate, say, someone who has like someone who is like a bee, going from flower to flower. They want commitment. They want loyalty. They want someone who is in it for the long haul. Because they are so dedicated and so loyal, they don't like mind games, and they do not tolerate emotional manipulation. If you're going to be playing those games, they're going to be very quickly disinterested, and they will tell you. They'll be like, you know what? No, you're immature and you have tons of work to do, and they'll list all of the reasons why they can't be with you, and then they'll just walk away. This is not an absolute truism for every Virgo in the world, but from my personal experience, I find that Virgos are always in a job that requires serving the community. And this can manifest as something as simple as like working as a mailman, or being a nurse, or being an esthetician. Like there's some skill that they develop that allows them to be of service to the community. But largely they're in healthcare, or they have a strong interest in health. Like how good is the quality of food that you're eating? How balanced is your diet? They're all over vitality, health. It goes back to like that they're represented by the Virgin, like Mother Teresa, someone who shows up for others, who has like a heart that never gets tired. So I would be curious to see, if your Virgo is in that type of work. Someone who is born with their sun in Aquarius has a soul that came into this world to awaken our consciousness. It's almost as if they have a different set of eyes than the rest of us. They see the world differently. And a lot of the time, stereotypical astrology is like, oh my God, you're trying to be different, or you're trying to be unique. No, that's just the way that they see the world. And often it creates this immediate recognition that you don't fit anywhere. Aquarius doesn't fit in any specific space, and it creates social anxiety. They don't know how to act. They don't know what to say. They don't know what to do. There is an ambivalence towards being around people, because they don't quite, it doesn't compute in their head. Their minds are like computers. They are the 11th sign, which means that they are the third, the eldest air sign. So they take the perspective, the information that Gemini collects. They know that they have a mind. And then they take the information that Libra collects. They know how to put themselves in other people's shoes. They know how to compromise. They know how to negotiate. They know how to establish trust. And then they go, okay, how do we get everyone to trust each other? How do we create a community? And how do we develop this community? How do we transform our experience of life together? How do we elevate everybody? The interesting paradox with Aquarius is that they are knowledgeable. They're a resource. They have leadership skills. They are often the people that others go to when they don't know what to do as it relates to a community or a group activity. They're human rights activists. They can find the gaps in structures. They know how to advance us in a very positive way, but they don't like being the center of attention. And oftentimes they don't like talking about themselves. They may feel internally like they don't want to attach to a label, because they have a hard time accepting and celebrating the ego. They're the opposite of Leo. Leo is all about, here's my personality, here's how I shine. Aquarius takes that attitude but positions it towards the community. How can we shine? How can we develop? How can we be celebrated in the most honest and authentic way? And so you'll find that they're comfortable behind a computer or on a phone, but can be a little socially awkward. I think that they would feel socially awkward, or as if there is never a place for them, even when they are in a community. And this feeling can be uncomfortable for them at first. It can manifest as social anxiety, and they may even avoid social situations depending on where they are inside of their head. But it serves a purpose. And that purpose is that you need to remain detached enough so that you can innovate, so that you can think your own thoughts, so that you can go off in your own direction. And oftentimes they're trailblazers, they're trendsetters. They are always 10 steps ahead of the community. And because they are also a fixed sign, they're stubborn, they are unmovable in that. They have to have a certain level of confidence in their ideas and opinions in order to say, no, I'm not going to conform. You are going to come here. And here's why you're going to come here. And this is how it benefits you. And this is how the human race is developing, whether you like it or not. They have this amazing ability to gaze into space and project a very clear image of a future that is totally within our capability. Like, we can totally arrive to that space with them. I've said this and I will continue to say it, that even though Aquarius is an air sign, it is very sensitive, more sensitive than it realizes. And what happens when they're overstimulated is they become numb and they detach. This is the soul wound of someone who has strong Aquarius in their chart, because things are always changing, and because these changes affect so many people in so many negative ways that they feel equipped or responsible for repairing. They will detach from the part of themselves that cares just to stay afloat, just to stay with the changes in culture and society. And so there is this robotic tone to them, or there can be just an obvious lack of emotion. You can be struggling with something and you can be crying in front of them and explaining all the which ways that you're heartbroken or let down, and just the opposite. You could be super happy about something and there's this robot before you like, I understand. The way of loving is that they've often researched what you're going through and what's going on in your brain and how humans typically act and how to repair that specific thing. And so they're able to like spit back this report to solve your problem, but it can be hard for them to stay in the emotion or to sympathize with you. And it's not a reflection of how much they do or don't care about you. It's more so a reflection of their internal state of being. It's hard for them to access emotions. Surprisingly enough, however, they make excellent partners because they understand the Libra lesson of trust and compromise. But they also are not looking for something hot and fiery, that flirty fling that Gemini wants. They want a friend. They understand that if they are going to commit to something long term, they have to be with someone that they like. They don't have to have the same interests, but this person has to be stimulating and intelligent and good-hearted and good-spirited. They want to be with their best friend. That is their ideal partner. And so they may hesitate to commit. I haven't heard too many complaints about Aquarius people not getting into relationships, but when they do, it tends to last because they do think long-term. And they often choose someone from I don't want to say non-emotional space, because the spirit, the soul does respond to people, but it's not so much about how you make them feel. It's that you guys are just so compatible with each other that it makes sense for you to be together. And that's why Valentine's Day surprises everybody that it's in an Aquarius season. But traditionally, that's when people were getting married. And statistically, Aquarians have the most success when they get married because, again, they marry for the right reasons. They're using their head and their soul together to make the just call. Aquarius and love, they will want to talk to you. They'll want to know what you're thinking, what you've learned, what is stimulating you. They're going to have those late night conversations. They're going to be very present with you. And again, not super emotional about it, but they are wanting to collect data on you. They're going to master you in one way, shape, and form. That's a kind of hidden quality to them, is that they're constantly collecting data on you. So they can put it into their computer and they know what to expect and they know what you want and they know where you are mentally, emotionally. And they're just so friendly. That's what it is. They're just so nice to be around. I don't have any complaints about an Aquarius. Now, some downsides to dating an Aquarius, or not downsides, but what they don't like, is they don't like somebody who is negative, emotional, or moody, because it flies in the face of their energy. And it's not so much that you affect their mood, it's like what you're saying and what you're doing is irritating and inefficient and a waste of time. And those are all things that they prize. They like being efficient, they like using energy positively. And if you're focused on things from the past or things that you can't control, then you're not making good use of this brilliant brain that you have. Another thing they won't like is if you're impolite or rude to other people, or if you don't care about social movements. If you are mispronouncing people's names after they've corrected you, if you're not in the know about what communities are working through what, or if you have a blatant disregard for the overall quality of humanity and people's lives, they will have no respect for you, because this is what their life is about. They are in service to people. They are trying to break the minds, the structures that keep us bound and limited and trapped in a pastime. And so you embodying that energy, it's like, oh my God, no, you're the enemy, you're the foe. Aquarius is ruled by Saturn and Uranus. Uranus is the modern ruler, but Saturn is the traditional ruler. And so typically you have two types of Aquarius. And what's interesting is that they embody both of them at different times of their life. So either the Aquarius person comes in very quirky, atypical, doesn't fit in, and then as time goes on, they become more Capricorn-like. They're more serious and they're about the mission and the rules and following protocols. Or you have someone who ages backwards, who is all about the rules and tools and following what authority says and doing what you're supposed to do. And then they get really quirky in their older years. So it just depends. Now, going back to deal breakers, Aquarians are rebellious by their programming. They come into this world needing to stir shit up, needing to awaken our consciousness to pull us along. If it weren't for Aquarians, we wouldn't have women's rights. We wouldn't have gay rights. It's that energy that progresses us as the human race. And so if they are trying to rebel against a specific structure and they're starting to embody that rebellious energy, and you shun them and you further ostracize them, if you are not a friend or an ally in their development and experimentation, they're going to want to leave you, because they're stubborn. That's what they do. They dig their heels in. They won't be emotional about it. They won't yell at you. They won't raise their voice. They won't criticize you. They'll just sit you down and say, you know, this isn't working out. I don't think we're a good match. And they can do this because their passion is towards people, groups, social reform. And so they don't inherently want or see the need for a partner, unless they have a partner who, you know, is truly a partner and shows up for them and supports them. Then they understand the value of that relationship. But until that point, if you're just a nuisance, if you're just another critic, if you're just someone who makes them feel more weird than they already feel, what's the point of having you? See your way to the door. Thank you. Bye. I will say this though. One thing that I've noticed through working with clients with Aquarius placements is that once they are in a committed relationship, and they have in their mind said, I'm going to be with this person for the long run, if they actually have married somebody and it's not working out, it can take them a long time to actually leave. And it's because they're committed. They're stubborn. They're a fixed sign. They often do what they believe in. And I think that's kind of the lesson that you learn when you're with these types of partners, is Aquarians awaken to their own unconscious motives through these dysfunctional relationships. They self-actualize through these relationships that don't work, but that fixed quality allows them to stay in relationships that they would otherwise recognize as unhealthy. But all in all, Aquarius is a great partner in, I would say passion, I would say play, but it's neither of those. They're just a great partner to have in life because they will commit to you, they won't play games, and they are focused on something bigger than themselves at all times. They want to make an impact. They want to help us all grow and develop. Sun in Virgo, Sun in Aquarius. Here we have a match that you would not expect, but does really well together, because when they're both shining their light, they support the other person's mission. Now, to begin with, we have an earth and an air sign, which means that their rhythms are a little bit opposite. The way that they recharge, when they move, why they move is different. Aquarius moves to gain energy, and Virgo stays home to gain energy. It sleeps, it rests, it takes care of itself in the way that we would expect a human to. Fire and air signs do not gain energy the same way that water signs and earth signs do. So you might find on a Saturday morning, a Virgo is like, oh my God, I'm finally off. I would love to just relax and tend to my garden and do all my face care things. And Aquarius is like, I got to hit the streets because they are running on E being inside. But that seems to be like a very minor difference, but it's something to manage. Now, Virgo is ruled by Mercury, and Aquarius is ruled by Saturn and Uranus. And so Virgo is a thinker, but it manifests in the body, and it often is presented as anxious thoughts. Aquarius is also kind of an anxious person because they are constantly trying to synthesize the influx of information that they are receiving. The difference is that Virgo is a socially oriented sign, so it's focused on the community that it is involved with, or the workplace that it is involved with, and how to be of service to that. Aquarius is taking the critical information that Virgo collects and inserts into a database, most likely, and goes, okay, how is this affecting all the communities? Let's think about how this specific structure functions and where it fucks us up, and how can I, reinvent the wheel, so to speak. And so they're both usually over their heads in information, and they might even get off to sharing this information with each other. Again, when Virgo goes to this super numerical place, it likes to talk about what's happening and what the statistics are and what the data says and what this article taught them. And Aquarius won't turn a blind eye. They'll drop in and listen because they speak information too. And so Virgo will feel seen and appreciated, almost as if all of their research is being validated and at least heard by an Aquarius. And Aquarius will likely, mirror back that they've understood the information. Now, the type of information that Virgo is presenting may not always be super interesting. Maybe not, depending on your specific Aquarius. But Virgo is usually talking about healthcare. I think I said in the initial video that Virgos are usually in a line of work of being a nurse or a doctor, or if they're in business, then it is like they are the executive assistant because they like supporting someone. They like helping things develop and change even. And that is another thing that they have in common, is that Virgo is a mutable sign, and while Aquarius is a fixed sign, it's also focused on change. And so these are two people who understand that life as it is today is going to be different tomorrow. So neither one of them is holding on too steadily to the past or even the present. Aquarius might be, they're both focused on the present, but they're more future oriented. The Virgo, if any of them were to revert back to the past, it would be Virgo, just to understand like patterns of behavior. But Virgo will present information, going back to original point, Virgo will present information about health and vitamins and well-being and nutrients. That will want to know how to take care of a garden. And while Aquarius might find that information useful, because who knows if they ever need to, focus on a garden or like overall bodily functions, which is also something that Aquarius avoids, they will still listen to what the Virgo has to share. Now, speaking of that, Virgo can help an Aquarius in many different ways. Aquarius people often identify as being robotic or being something other than human. They feel like an alien in their own skin. And so they have created this safe mind palace that they live in, and they will disconnect from the body. And with the disconnecting from the body, they will also miss the opportunity to explore the plethora of information that the body is trying to share with an Aquarius. And so with Virgo being so focused on health and well-being and the vitality and the health of the body, over the course of a relationship, Aquarius will start to see measurable differences in their skin. They will feel better about themselves. They will have like a more colorful diet. And at that point, they may start to pay more attention to what their body has. Now, Aquarius can benefit Virgo because, the reason why anxiety manifests for a Virgo is because they're thinking of things that they cannot control. They may not think about it at the time, but they're always thinking like, man, how can I make this better? How can I do this? How can I solve this person's problem? And Aquarius people are very quick because they're not so emotionally involved. They'll look at what Virgo is going through and be like, well, that's not your problem. That's actually your friend's problem. Or that's actually something that, the next person on swing shift can take care of. That's not your responsibility. Aquarius can help Virgo unload the burden of knowledge, of knowing what's happening, because they both experience the responsibility that comes with knowing how people are and what's going on in the world. But Aquarius is better with the boundaries of it. Like, this is where work ends and free time begins. This is what's within our control. This is what's outside of our control. And Virgo might find a sense of peace in that. And then Aquarius also is brilliant at fostering Virgo's creativity, which doesn't seem obvious, right? Virgo is kind of the quirkier one who has a very unique sense of style. The Virgos that I've met are either super clean cut and clean and well groomed, or they're a little bit more like, ooh, like that's unique, that's cool, that's colorful, and they'll wear like all these different types of jewelry, kind of like a Pisces flavor. But Aquarius does not care to be accepted by society, and Virgo, being a socially oriented sign, does care about how it's being received. They fall prey to being people pleasers, and Aquarius will be the first one to point out, like, you're spending so much time trying to people please and nobody is actually pleased. You're just trying to keep yourself busy. Okay, also, going back to the artistic side, Virgos are artistic and creative people. They just don't always allow themselves to visualize or to express their creativity. And because Aquarius doesn't mind standing as an outsider, and that's one of the only things that they will identify as an outsider, it gives Virgo permission to also recognize that you can stand outside of societal norms and still be someone that is loved and valuable. So that's a really positive transaction that happens there. Some problem areas is that Virgo is an earth sign and it's a socially oriented sign. So physical touch, quality time is very important to them. They want to feel your presence. Being the opposite of Pisces, they may even want to merge with their partner. It's a we thing, like we do things together. Virgo will not be upfront about how much it wants from Aquarius. And when an Aquarius is listening to the language that a Virgo is using, Virgo isn't giving any hints that it needs help too. Virgo is just saying, oh, I'm helping this person, I'm helping this person, I'm helping this person. But Virgo really wants someone, particularly their partner, to show up and support them. They need an assistant. They need someone who is of service to them. And if that's not explicitly stated, then Aquarius will not catch up on that. They might, recognize that there's an imbalance there, that Virgo is doing too much, and they will obviously pick up on the physical anxiety because Virgo will be cleaning everything or completely zoning out. But Virgo's needs, because it's such a pleaser, will not be upfront about how much like human love and tenderness that it desires. And if Aquarius doesn't give that, then it can create the impression in Virgo's mind that they have to work harder for love and attention, or that Aquarius isn't interested in them, that Aquarius is only focused on, work. The lower functioning side of Virgo can be a little bit insecure, and it can start comparing like, well, is it just because I'm not pretty enough or I'm not perfect enough? And it can go down that rabbit hole of destroying its confidence and its, and just kind of slicing itself at the knees. And so it's important that it's a challenge for Virgo. They have to communicate what they would like. And Aquarius is a very friendly, fun-loving, a very friendly, receptive sign. And so it will do its best to be a human for a Virgo. Something that may irritate an Aquarius is that with a Virgo, everything has a specific place and it has to go back to that spot. While an Aquarius might benefit from like physical order, it can create this feeling of predictability that Aquarius doesn't like. It likes the unexpected. It likes the unknown. It's curious about, ways to just reinvent and play with life. It won't use that language, playing with life. But if things are too tidy, an Aquarius will be like, oh my God, like, let me just mess something up real quick. Yeah, but these two, when they come together, they are very devoted and they are focused on using all of their vitality to be of service to other people. It's just important that they also focus on each other too. I don't think that Virgo will have an issue showing up and wanting to take care of their partner. They will make all of the healthy meals. They will inspire an Aquarius to be more spiritual and more in their body, more human. But I definitely see these two lasting the test of time. If you would like to learn more about either your birth chart or your synastry chart, you can find me at wellandrising.com/services. Toodles.